Alrighty, so I don't actually know what the hell is wrong with these liberals, with our liberal government. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I've been spinning my head. I'm watching. I've tried to like have as much of a non-biased algorithm for just me personally. I know obviously my channel is likely considered heavily biased towards, you know, conservatives, but nonetheless, my algorithm, I try to include just like liberal thoughts to just try to understand the ridiculousness that exists in this country. And I can't for the life of me. I give up trying to understand these liberals. Look, I grew up a pretty freaking normal life, right? You work, you pay your taxes, you trust the government. If you're in trouble, you call the police, right? You get yourself, you work, you build up enough money to get a home, you get married, you start a family, like just regular life. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing stood out. My childhood was quite normal. I played sports, I was athletic. I certainly didn't have this gray beard growing like it is right now. I got one gray hair strand right there, and it's really freaking bothering me. I feel like I grew up a pretty just normal, average Canadian life. And what I'm seeing now, it's breaking the barriers of my entire belief system. I have never, ever seen this level of incompetence within government, elected officials, people that I grew up thinking, yeah, no, like these are good people. They work for us. They are doing things to help us, but yet they're not. We're finding that more and more every single day. So there's a couple of different things we're going to be taking a look at. First, we're just going to glaze over this insane news about Indigenous communities in Canada. And then we also are going to highlight, I know I already made a video about it, but we're just going to like summarize it very, very quickly. What happened with Pierre Poilievre's ban from the House of Commons from asking questions. It's only a 1 day or 24-hour ban, but nonetheless, it's over the most ridiculous and ludicrous thing. The gaslighting that liberals are now doing, the collateral damage, and then the whole SDTC scandal and how the liberals are complaining about the fact that Pierre Poilievre is running to the police. So I highly recommend you guys stick around for the full thing, because this is insane right now what is going on in Canada. Whew, that was a long intro. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. I think we're getting pretty close to 410,000 subscribers, which is amazing. And also, thank you very much. And I want to give a shout out very quickly to the longest standing channel members on this channel. 30 months. And there's a few of them. You got Charles, Christine, Judy, Chris, Franz, Serena, and Bob. And then there's a bunch of people that are like quickly following that, but 30 months channel members. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the new and existing channel members. And without further ado, let's get into this craziness. So for those that have missed it, here is the most recent poll update. If you've seen it, just skip ahead a few seconds. Pierre Poilievre is sitting at 228 projected seats. FYI, that's the highest projection that anyone has ever had. And if he were to get anywhere near where he's projected to get, he will have the largest majority government Canada has ever seen. Trudeau is tanking as far as one could possibly tank, to the inevitable 1 or 2 seats that he's likely to get. But according to this, 53 projected. And then you got 99% likely across the board for the Conservatives of winning the most seats and odds of a majority government. So on that front, things are looking good. But what's not looking good is what I'm about to show you. So Canada, lawyers just ruled that it's no longer, I'm so blown away by this. Canada has no legal obligation to provide First Nations with clean drinking water, or just clean water, lawyers say. So there's an ongoing like lawsuit, a class action lawsuit that's launched by the Shamatawa First Nations community. And just for those that like think that this isn't a big deal, I personally have friends that live in some of these small communities, and I'm going to show you a clip of just how disgusting some of this water is. This was sent to me as I was recording this right now. This is what his bathtub looks like. As you can see, it's brown. Clean tub, obviously. The only bathtub in my friend's place, right? And then here's what the water looks like. As you can see, it's literally brown. It's just brown water. And that's not just the bathtub. This also exists within the regular taps, the outdoor taps. Like, that's the state of Canada. It's freaking disgusting. And now Canada's ruling, hey, yeah, it turns out that we don't actually have to provide you with that clean drinking water. That is one of the many things that Justin Trudeau promised 9 years ago. Screw this Liberal government. They are just full of absolute failures. Now let's take a look at some more failures. So we need to recap what Pierre Poilievre said in the House of Commons. And for that, I have this clip.
I gave the Foreign Affairs Minister 2 opportunities to condemn the increasingly common and terrifying anti-Semitic chants we hear in the streets. Israel will soon be gone. There is only one solution, intifada, revolution. Twice she refused to condemn those remarks. She continues to pander to Hamas supporters in the Liberal Party as part of her leadership campaign rather than doing her job. So I'll give her another chance. Will she publicly support Israel's right to retaliate against the tyrants of Tehran and the terrorists in Hezbollah and Hamas to protect itself? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If we don't do politics about...
Hold on. Hold on. The speaker didn't announce you. Nobody heard you.
I just want to encourage all members to ensure consistent with rulings in the past, and I will come back to this near the end of question period, but just to caution all members to please be judicious in their words. The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, if there's a day where we don't do politics about people's lives being taken or people being killed, it's today.
Look at their fake enthusiasm. One person stood up.
Form of anti-Semitism, I hope, in this House. Any form of discrimination. And I really hope that my colleague in front will apologize.
If there was ever a day when we needed a government to stand up for what was right, this would be
today. So that was so controversial. Pierre Poilievre standing up on the House floor using the national broadcast platform to basically just say, hey, you guys are saying that you condemn anti-Semitism, yet all of this stuff is happening and you're not doing anything about it. And just to show you the extent, in case you missed the earlier video or any of the news, here's what happened in Vancouver the night of October 7th when all of those protests took place.
Palestinians will return! Death to Canada! Death to the United States! And death to Israel!
Absolutely friggin' crazy. And then here's the ruling that the House Speaker gave to basically ban Pierre Poilievre for 1 full day.
Indicated that during question period, the Leader of the Opposition had used language directed at the Minister of Foreign Affairs that was deemed to be unparliamentary. In fact, it was very similar in nature and language used earlier this year by a member who accused the Leader of the Opposition of pandering to an odious regime. At the time, that member was asked to withdraw that comment. I therefore asked yesterday that the Leader of Opposition do the same, namely to withdraw his comment at the earliest opportunity. To date, this has not happened. We will soon find ourselves at the time of day where the Leader of the Opposition normally undertakes one of his most important roles, namely leading off question period. Members will recall that when the Leader of the Opposition was himself the subject of unparliamentary language, to which I just referred, members of his caucus took great offence and made that perfectly clear to the chair occupant, who then very rightly insisted on a withdrawal. As such, I am sure members can appreciate that I must do the same in the present circumstances. Notre régime parlementaire repose.
Our parliamentary system,
well, there you go,
depends on.
So he'll be able to
for themselves
return to question period or ask questions tomorrow.
The application of which has been entrusted to the Speaker and other chair occupants.
But right now he can't unless he apologizes.
Who is in charge of enforcing parliamentary rules has a corrosive effect on our discussions.
Again, absolutely crazy. And now here's what Mélanie Joly has to say about the entire matter. It's just so freaking hypocritical, man. I don't trust a single thing these people say.
Of course, I would like to reiterate how much I personally and this government is against any form of anti-Semitism. And we know that there's been a rise of anti-Semitism across this country. It has worsened since October 7th. We've heard from the Jewish community from coast to coast to coast how much this was a problem. And we need to continue to fight every day, working with mayors across the country, working with premiers. And of course, we have, as a government, to do a better job. And we all have to do a better job, everyone in the House of Commons. And so we'll continue to denounce any form of anti-Semitism that is happening on our streets, in our schools, against hospitals, synagogues, etc. Why? Because we, as a government, believe also in the Charter, in the fact that freedoms need to be protected, not only freedom to speech, but also freedom from intimidation, violence, discrimination.
So my understanding, if I'm getting this correct, is that Mélanie Joly just said we need to protect freedom of speech. That didn't apply during the Freedom Convoy, obviously. But you can go into the streets, according to Mélanie Joly and the Liberal government, and you can chant death to Jews, death to Canadians. You can burn flags. You can make threats, whether they are empty or real, about doing horrible, horrible acts here in Canada to Canadians, to Jewish people, to Canadian Jewish, whatever you want. And that's okay, according to Mélanie Joly. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, according to Mélanie freaking Joly.
Now, when it comes to the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre himself, let me be clear. What we saw yesterday was the height of hypocrisy. Clearly, Poilievre is doing one thing and saying one thing, and he's doing another. I'll give you 3 examples. First, while he's saying that he's fighting anti-Semitism, he never condemned those who were waving a Nazi flag during the Freedom Convoy on this Parliament Hill. Why didn't he? Second, he cozies up to groups like Diagolon, who spread neo-fascist ideology across this country. Why does he denounce their anti-Semitism as well?
Oh my goodness. He has distanced himself. He has nothing to do with Diagolon. And Diagolon has also distanced himself and said, we have nothing to do with Pierre. They don't like Pierre. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. So one Nazi flag from some random rogue idiot during the Freedom Convoy just takes away from the entire Freedom Convoy, but people chanting death to Jews and death to Canadians in the freaking streets is okay? What the fuck is going on? Dude, I'm not right wing. I'm not left. I'm just a normal Canadian that is scratching my head going, what the hell is going on with these people? Am I on the spectrum, or are these people on the spectrum? Am I missing something? Am I going crazy sitting here in my basement with cameras in my face, talking to a camera? Or is this actually real? It's such insane and intense gaslighting that I'm actually questioning my own reality here.
And also, when his caucus met with far-right politicians from Germany that were downplaying Hitler's crimes, he kept them in his caucus, and they're still sitting next to him in the House of Commons. So clearly what we're seeing is that Pierre Poilievre is about double standards, and he's about himself, his own political gain, and ultimately, he's unfit to govern this country. Hold
on a second. There are so many wrongs in that. It doesn't make any sense. Pierre doesn't sit with anybody who there's no member of parliament, or there's no conservative member of parliament that questions what happened during the Holocaust. That's absolutely incorrect. And in terms of the right wing person that she's referring to from another country, that was Christine something from Germany or whatever it was. And there was a couple MPs that went and had dinner with her, and that was it. That was the extent of any form of discussion, right? These are insane accusations, and this liberal government goes around and they say, look, we need to protect democracy, mis and disinformation. You idiots are using your platforms to literally spew the most top tier. It's the gold standard of mis and disinformation. It's such insane and instrumental amount of lies that it doesn't matter what your state of mind is and how concrete your beliefs are, you will question your own sanity and your own reality. They are committing an insane crime by gaslighting not a couple of people, but an entire friggin' country. Like, they try to implement rules around this so that they are the only ones that can break it. It doesn't make any sense at all. Now let's take a look at what Pierre Poilievre said during one of his speeches. This was before question period. Okay, this was before question period. In fact, Greg Fergus saw that Pierre was giving this speech right here, and so Greg Fergus used this time to go and basically suspend him for a day in the House. Crazy.
Yeah, sure. Well, you're asking me on, look. What is their policy? They've doubled the debt, they've doubled housing costs, they've given us the worst inflation in 40 years. They would have to do exactly the opposite of everything they've done to fix all the problems that they've caused. What I'm saying is, let's axe the carbon tax to bring down gas, heat, and groceries rather than quadrupling the tax to 61 cents a litre. I would work with her on axing the carbon tax. I would allow her to take my private member's bill that will build the homes by removing bureaucracy to get building. I would allow the government to take my entire plan to cap government spending with a dollar for dollar law to bring down the deficit, inflation, and interest rates. And I would allow them to take my plan to stop the crime with jail, not bail, stronger borders, and not banning hunting rifles, and treatment rather than unsafe supply, so we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. So take that.
So why not just agree?
No, but I'm just finishing the question. If you take those ideas, axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime, to Chrystia Freeland, let me know what she says. Okay?
You can't do any of that until this current debate is dispensed with. So why not just agree to send it to the committee, like the Speaker has suggested? The RCMP says it already has some of these documents. Why continue to buy the government more time with keeping the House of Commons in stasis? You can't bring up your confidence motions.
It's been months now since the Auditor General revealed a $400 million spending scandal involving 186 incidences of conflict of interest where Liberal appointees gave tax dollars to their own companies. $400 million is a lot of money for the single moms who can't afford groceries, for the seniors who can't afford rent. We're not just going to let $400 million of corruption be swept under the rug so Justin Trudeau can get on with his day. So we say, let's end this now, let's get Parliament back to work by handing over the documents to the police so we can bring home accountability. Thank you.
In response to that, you have Karina Gould say this to reporters.
When it comes to Mr. Poilievre, he is lying to Canadians when he is talking about what is happening in the chamber. He is pretending that what is going on in there is something completely different than what it is, which is a conservative filibuster of conservative obstruction. The Speaker of the House was extremely clear when he ruled on the conservative question of privilege. He said that because of the extraordinary circumstances, this should go to committee for further study. There is only one political party that is holding things up in the House of Commons right now, and that is the Conservative Party of Canada, because they are afraid that if this study goes to committee, what they will hear from experts is that this is an egregious abuse of power. But this is a consistent pattern with Pierre Poilievre and his Conservative Party. where they obstruct the truth, they try to spin away from reality, but the facts don't lie. The facts are, and any one of you can go and read this testimony, this ruling from the Speaker, where he clearly states that this matter should be referred to the Procedure and House Affairs Committee for further study. And Mr. Poilievre doesn't want that to happen, because when that happens, expert after expert will come out and say that this is an egregious abuse of power by the Conservatives. And just because the House has the right to do it does not mean that it should.
Pierre Poilievre has tried everything. He's tried taking this to committee meetings. He's tried absolutely everything. And everything that he's done gets blocked, gets immediately shut down by all of these greasy and disgusting coalitions that are taking occurrence within Parliament. And it really is gross. And so Pierre really had no other choice than to actually go to the police and present them with this information. And if they have nothing to hide, then what the hell are they even worried about? Now let's wrap things up here with something that Chrystia Freeland said earlier in the day.
I just think it is appalling and ridiculous what we're seeing in the House of Commons. And I think it is really disrespectful to Canadians and disrespectful to our democracy. We need to step back for a minute and recognize what a big deal it is to have a democracy. How lucky we are as a country to govern ourselves this way. And I'm grateful to the generations of Canadians who've built this incredibly complicated, incredibly wonderful machine of democratic government. I don't take that for granted for a single moment. And so it makes me frustrated and it makes me angry to see just the disrespect for constituents, the disrespect for Parliament that the Conservatives are demonstrating.
That's not to say, I agree with everything that Chrystia said, but that's not to say that work isn't continuing. I mean, we're continuing to roll out our dental care program. We're continuing to move forward on the disability benefit. We're here today announcing new measures on housing. So there are still ways to get things done. But commenting on your question and perhaps your previous question, I mean, this is not new. This is a pattern. We have a leader of the opposition who is trying to convince Canadians that Canada is broken while simultaneously trying to do things to break it. On Finance Committee, where he was before he was leader, and what has continued since he has become leader, the Conservatives have not studied a budget in 3 years. They haven't studied a fall economic statement in 3 years. The role of the opposition is not just to oppose. It's supposed to be to propose solutions and to work for Canadians. That is a role that they have decided to vacate in their present form. And as we saw at the committee level and as we will see in the House, the majority of parliamentarians are here to get work done and to deliver for our constituents back home. So, I mean, it's easy to say that the Conservatives will remove this dilatory tactic if we do X, Y, or Z, but they're actually looking for dilatory tactics. They're not looking for solutions for Canadians, and that's just the world we're living in with this particular leader and his view on how Canada should be governed.
Oh my goodness. I am having my entire belief system shatter right in front of me, and I have the absolute pleasure of bringing all of you along to witness it. And I don't know if there's still people out there that are as optimistic, like Conservatives, viewers, if there's any of you that are still as optimistic as I am about, believing in the system that it will turn itself around, we can vote our way out of this. But I am just so disappointed with our government. I am so disappointed with our government. And even, everyone has friends or family or combination of both that are liberals that would still vote for, Justin Trudeau, even to this day. And there's a lot of those people that are seeing what's happening, and they're realizing this doesn't make any sense. This government is so incompetent. They're literally lying. They're lying and trying to suppress their political opponents and try to silence them. It doesn't make any sense. So like, no matter what side you're on, we need change. We absolutely need change. And I do not think that it's okay for the Liberals, the government, to sit there and to lie about giving Indigenous communities water when they clearly clean water when they haven't. And then say that, you know what, we actually don't owe you that. Then why did you promise it 9 years ago? It doesn't make any sense at all. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. So on your way out, if you haven't yet already, I'd really like to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe, and also share the video out to different socials, whether it's on X or other platforms that you use. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Bye for now.